Bluff City Media presents the $2 Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another jam-packed edition of the $2 Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets, coming to you with my colleague, Uncle Buck from Northeast Mississippi. Uncle Buck, how's it going on this hot, beautiful day?
What is up, Buckets? It is hot. It is beautiful. Any day above ground is a good day, and just happy to be alive. It's a big day here for Grizzlies fans. We're getting into the best time of year, the best season of the year, and I'm talking about fall as well as football season. And so we've got a lot to be excited about right now. Although, like, it is absolutely boring at my house at nighttime now. I'm like playing with my children because there's no sports on. It's awful.
The audacity, yeah, man. Like, I'm trying to find stuff on TV to watch. You know, I'm watching. If you've been following along on this show and the Daily Grind, I am watching Game of Thrones. There's things to do, but like, I just miss sports, right? Because like professional baseball is a mockery of what it used to be. They do not sell their product well, so I do not actively participate in watching those games. I'm ready for sports to come back.
Yeah. And the Cardinals are on a slide of all slides. Like, I mean, they're just pathetic. They're the worst they're the worst thing you can be in sports, and that is 500. Like, just
I mean, it could be worse. You could be a Cubs fan, and we have had a very up and down season, more downs than ups. They busted my parlay yesterday. They're the only team in my parlay that didn't win. They stood between me and $1,100. I'm not happy about that, but regardless, here we are.
Always a great one. That just the team that ruins it happens to be your favorite team.
I mean, that's it, man. Because like I looked at it last night, I'm like, dude, come on, let's go. And then we got worked by the Guardians, excuse me, and it ruined my $1,100 parlay.
But, you talking about just really quickly, because this is something I've been meaning to bring up, and it's something I think about a lot, and it has to do with you watching Game of Thrones. What is one show you wish you could watch for the first time again?
Game of Thrones would be up there.
Yeah.
The Sopranos
doesn't really count because
which one?
Not done yet.
Well, I guess so. So, like, I guess that's fair. Yeah. For me, probably The Sopranos. Like, watching it, like, as it rolled out, that's one of my favorite shows of all time. Like, it's amazing, the drama. Like, it's very similar to Game of Thrones. Like, at the beginning of the episode, you may like a character and you may hate him by the end or vice versa. And I just wish, like, I could watch that again for the first time, for sure.
Yeah. The Office is probably mine just because it is so rewatchable and that you kind of get lost in the repeated. I mean, it's now it's very rarely just like sit down and watch The Office. It's like I'm going to bed or I'm doing the dishes or we're playing, so I wish I could just sit down and watch it for the first time. My parents are actually watching it right now, which is great joy. So but that's just a quick thought that I've had, and I was like, I wonder what Rusty's would be. But so we're going to start this show off. We're starting now. Okay, this is the start of the show. Okay, forget what I just took us through for the last 2 minutes.
Hey, DJ, run that back.
We're going to start this show the way we start every other $2 Sports Show. We are friends of over a decade, and this show started as a phone call. Like, let's just tape our phone calls and send them out to the world and see if they like it. And for some reason, Bluff City Media did. We're definitely the silliest show that they have on their lineup here. But because we're two friends, we don't talk nearly as much as we want to. We just start off with what's the best thing that happened this week and what is the worst thing. So, Buckets, I set them up. You knock them down. What's the best thing that happened to you this week?
Goodness, man, there's so much. Like, life is really good right now. I was just trying to think. Like, I've been kind of hyping it up some. I talked about it on the Daily Grind on Monday. Like, if you meet me or you've talked to me recently, I've been all in on the Ninja Creamy. It has been the best way to still satisfy. I know I'm old. Like, that's fine. Roll your eyes. To satisfy my sweet tooth of making good ice cream, but doing it at lower calories. Because I am trying to watch what I eat, trying to lose a little bit of weight, get my summer body back in check, that kind of thing. And so the fact that I can combine and like fresh fruit, Splenda, and a little bit of like juice and make really good ice cream, like I'm freaking here for, man. I can have ice cream every night, 0 Weight Watcher points, satisfy the sweet tooth, and that thing is awesome. I bought it on Prime Day. 10 out of 10 would definitely recommend. The Ninja Creamy for my nightly ice cream fix has been amazing. Go ahead, hit me with it.
Do they have a compatible popcorn machine, because that's my weakness at night.
Ooh,
I love popcorn.
Oh, dude, I was talking about that today. My grandmother used to have one of those wheeled carts that you'd put the oil in the kernels in the little pot and it'd pop and flow over, and it made the best freaking popcorn, man. Like I missed that thing.
Better popcorn.
What's that?
Orville Redenbacher.
Just throw it in the microwave.
Yeah. I've gotten into such a kick with popcorn that I'm starting to wonder if like I'm doing damage to my teeth, because I'm constantly like, I think I got something.
Dude, that's the worst thing about popcorn is like you'll eat popcorn, you'll brush your teeth real good, and the next morning you'll find a kernel still stuck back in there. And
have you ever had like inflammation from that before? Because it's gotten stuck in deep before that I have to do minor surgery on myself.
Yeah, and you're in that mirror like,
yeah. So, my best of the week, for the first time this year, and most likely the only time, I'm going to play golf tomorrow. The linemen's, it's the Mississippi electrical co-ops. You know, I'm a power ranger for a local co-op here in Ripley. And so they have a big golf outing as a fundraiser for the Linemen's Association to help linemen and families that have been affected, like in the line of work. You know, it's a dangerous job. There unfortunately are injuries that happen, and a lot of times they're very serious. And so this is a way that they take up money to help the families, not just the linemen, but also, God forbid, there's a lineman is to pass away from an injury. They help the family. If a family member is hurt and the lineman is healthy, they will help the family. It's all about the families of linemen, and it's great. And so we're going to play golf on Saturday at the University Golf Course at Ole Miss. And
nice.
It is just a ton of fun. And golf is something I used to play a lot when I was single in college. I was never good at it, but I did play a lot. And so I am looking forward to that Saturday, and just going and hanging out.
Nice, man. Yeah, I played golf for the first time 2 weeks ago since I moved back to the South, and my buddy Lee and I teed off before 7 a.m. to try and get it in before the heat, and it was a ton of fun. Golf is something that I've never been great at, though I played really well that day because I hadn't played in a while. I forgot all my bad habits, and ball striking was key that day. But, golf is just a ton of fun, especially when it's for a good cause like that, man. That's awesome. Glad you get to do that.
Yeah. So what goes up must come down. What's your beef?
I got a couple, man. I'm fixing to take on a truck payment for the first time in 4 years. Could be it, my gripe today has been a little bit. I was on Twitter earlier and I saw this whole like conversation. It's a little bit sports related, right? Like these nerds trying to tell me how to live my life and telling me that if you're planning your adult life around college football season, you need to grow up. No, sir. You need to grow up. Get out of my mentions and quit talking on Twitter about this, right? October the 12th is the number one. I saw this today. It's interesting in that chain. October the 12th is the highest utilized date on the wedding website, The Knot, for 2024. And you know what happens on October the 12th? Ohio State, Oregon, Ole Miss, LSU, Penn State, USC, State plays Georgia. That's Florida, Tennessee, Clemson, Wake Forest, Kansas State, Colorado. It is like college football heaven that day. I don't care what my friends invite me to. I don't care what's happening on October the 12th. I want to park this fat rear end in my recliner, and I'm going to watch college football until my eyeballs cross that day and be antisocial. So random citizen on Twitter, you can tell me I'm immature and I'm a child if you want to. That's fine. This child is going to be watching college football that day. Quit telling me how to live my life.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. And those people, what they get enjoyment out of is bullying people who have better hobbies than they do. Like I just don't want to hear it. Like I've talked about it on the show before. It's like whether it's politics or religion largely or anything else, hobbies, interests, I don't care. Let me have mine because I'm going to let you have yours. I'm not over here bashing anybody who have interests that are not aligned with mine.
That's it. Hey, sir, if you want to go ahead.
If you start infringing on my freedoms, though, if you start infringing on my Saturdays, I am going to have a problem. And you stole my beef because my beef is that my son, we are letting him play travel football for the travel baseball. It's like a real soft launch travel team where most of us first time ever played, don't know if we'll enjoy it. You know, the time, the money, all that's invested in it, may bail before. So it's like a 4 Saturdays, basically, is what it is. It's like, okay, we'll kind of soft launch this thing.
Yeah.
And he's playing in Tupelo on October the 12th.
Come on, bro.
He's also playing one of the Saturdays is opening first weekend. So that's a 6 o'clock game against Furman. You know, I'll take it, you know, like whatever you got to do. Outside of that, let's see, the 14th, I mean, that's Wake Forest, a 5:30 game. And I'm really just kind of hoping that these all just take care of themselves. Like they're night games, and so
you'll get eliminated early and go home.
Yeah, that's what you kind of hope for. Sure. And then the 21st, which is Georgia Southern. So outside of that one LSU weekend, I mean, it's gravy. Oh, but I will leave my son and my family on the field in Tupelo, Mississippi, to come home if they are not done playing in time for me to get home to watch the kickoff for Ole Miss and LSU. That's just how it is.
September 21st, you got USC, Michigan. I'm just looking at some of the schedule. That's USC, Michigan. That is Tennessee, Oklahoma, NC State, Clemson, LSU, UCLA. Like, it feels like every weekend has got games that are can't miss this year. So some of you nerds may get enjoyment out of going to your friends' weddings and being social and hanging out with your family. Not the $2. The $2 are antisocial when it comes to college football. We will be watching football.
I disagree.
We might come to your function.
I do not want to say that I'm antisocial during football. Just I'm only going places that are also watching football.
That's what I was about to say. You can invite us to your function, but be prepared for me to be sitting there like this the whole time while we're hanging out. Yeah. As I'm watching my football team play.
Yeah. I will lock the kids outside. They can play all night. The weather will be mild. They will not burn. They will not perish playing outside for, anywhere from 4 to 12 hours every Saturday.
We'll put food and water out for them. It'll be fine.
So that's our best and beef of the week. Rarely do they line up, and rarely are they about sports. But that is our week so far. So we're going to merge on into sports now. So anybody that was kind of waiting, wondering when these two buffoons were going to quit chatting about life, welcome
to the $2 Sports Show, the Memphis Grizzlies section. Drew, today is a big day for Grizz fans. It feels like basketball Christmas Eve, really, because the schedule launched on August the 15th, yesterday, as of y'all listening to this, and we now know who the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be playing. And so I have been playing around a little bit in some Canva and some overlays and stuff, so feast your eyes upon the highlights of the Memphis Grizzlies schedule as it pops up on your screen for your viewing pleasure. We've got a lot of fun things to talk about, great games queued up. Uncle Buck, opening night. It's a road game. It's at the Utah Jazz. Laurie Markkinen and the team on October 23rd. The Utah, you remember the old the Man Show? He's like, this here, Karl Malone from the Utah Jazz. It was one of their skits. Anyway, you got to look it up. It's really funny.
Yeah. So the Grizzlies start off with first 2 games on the road. I kind of have this thing where it's like I always want to play like the first game at home, but I would, more than anything, I'd rather win. I'd play 82 games on the road if you go 82-0.
Yes.
So the Grizzlies start on the road against the Jazz and then the Rockets before they make their home opener on October the 26th against Orlando. And that game is fun. That is an amazing home opener. It's the best one I can remember since Ja's rookie year when Kyrie and Brooklyn came to town for that home opener.
Yeah. We get to see a young, talented team from Orlando coming in. You've got some of the new faces of the NBA, a team I think that's going to be a force in the Eastern Conference. We have the Zaire Williams return game on October the 30th when the Brooklyn Nets come to town. Whether or not he will actually be playing in that is yet to be seen. But Zaire will be back in FedEx Forum for the first time on Halloween Eve. Only to be followed.
You telling me that's scary? Zaire Williams is going to be in FedEx Forum again.
Yeah, and then on Halloween we actually play the Bucks, which is a cool game for Halloween.
Sorry. So yeah, so I've made some notes. If you look at your screen here, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the notes I've made. You see all the red? That's from me. So just some quick notes that I thought. The home opener is actually the second game of a back-to-back, which kind of stinks because you're going at Houston and then home the next night to against the Magic. But then that starts a 4-game homestand to start the season. I mean, you go 2 on the road, 4 at home, which you're going to get Magic, Bulls, Nets, and Bucks. And out of those 6 games to start the season, I mean, I don't really see a reason why you shouldn't be 5-1, 4-2. If you look, I mean, you've got your 2 hard games are Magic and Bucks at home, so split those, and you should be 5-1 to end October at the start of your season.
Hey, real quick sidebar: if you haven't done this yet, I did this last year, and I just did it again, and it makes me so happy. But you can actually sync the Grizzlies calendar from NBA.com to your iPhone. If you just go to NBA.com, Grizzlies schedule, hit add games to calendar, it'll add them to your iPhone, so you'll always know when they are. So a nice little feature there right now. So, after that, though, we got a tough road game at Philly, at Brooklyn. Not so tough there before coming back home, and LeBron comes to the FedEx Forum for the first time on November the 6th. In which could be a nationally televised game. It depends on how the seasons are starting off.
November does start off a little tough when you're looking at home and away. So as you get into November, you've got 5 of 7 on the road, with the 2 road home games being Lakers and Wizards. You do see the Lakers on the road. You see the 76ers on the road and the Warriors on the road in that road trip. But then you get 6 out of 8 at home, including a back-to-back home games against Denver. Then you go I'm sorry, I think that's 6 of 8 at home. And then that gets you at that point into the in-season tournament. So there are the match play, pool play games before that point sprinkled in. We talked about those on the Daily Grind this week if you haven't seen those, but we'll play at Warriors, home against the Nuggets, home against the Pelicans, and at Dallas in those games. If you fare well, then middle of December, you start playing in the in-season tournament, the actual tournament. And
the NBA Cup actually starts then,
The Emirates Cup, I believe is what they're calling it, because the Saudis own everything now. If you want to sponsor the $2 Sports Show, we'll
take your blood money
to watch. Well, you can podcast watch as well as sports watch.
That's it.
We are for sale.
Goodness.
So keep this from getting dry. We're not going through this whole schedule here for you. That's how it starts. I know there's one huge homestand again later in the season where you've got 7 of 9 at home to start March. Actually, 9 of 11 at home if you span the end of February through March. Got a West Coast road trip in March. There is one thing I wanted to make notice to you, but is that for you, old person, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games that start after 8 p.m.
That's a bummer. Lots of coffee is going to be consumed that day. A couple of games that jump out to me. We don't play Oklahoma City for the first time until December the 29th, and that's at OKC. We don't see Wemby until January the 15th in San Antonio. That's a back-to-back. We play them on a Wednesday and a Friday in San Antonio. We don't get either one of them in our home place until February the 3rd. San Antonio comes to town, and then Oklahoma City comes to town on February the 8th. As you were talking about, it's quite a gauntlet from December 27th through January 17th with like road, home, and then a bunch on the road. The MLK game this year being the Minnesota Timberwolves is super cool. Drew, we always do a really cool uniform combo. I've got the T-shirt from the old Lorraine Motel. Jerseys we wore back in the day. We always do something big for that. But
I hated the sleeves. Sleeves do not belong on
the sleeves. Yeah, absolutely. The sleeve sucks. But the games are always cool. We do a cool uniform for them, so hopefully we'll have something big for that. And then we got quite the run to close out the season, as we were talking about off air, for seeding come April as we're heading into the playoffs.
Right. So after the All-Star break, you've got 14 games at home, 14 on the road. So I like to see that to be at least even. But then to end the season, as you were saying, in April, the West is a gauntlet. If you look through this schedule, you don't see a lot of absolute wins, and it's because we're playing an SEC. I mean, an
SEC
NBA
schedule.
Western Conference schedule. We're going to be good, but it's going to come down to seeding because I think that the West is going to beat itself up a lot, and there's going to be a lot of action at the top of the standings again. And with that being the case, you look at April. There are 7 games in April. You play 3 at home. You play 4 on the road. That is going to be Warriors, at Heat, at Pistons, at Hornets. Not so bad so far. But then you end it with Timberwolves at home, at Denver, Mavericks at home. So those last 3 games, you were really looking at like that could be between the top 4 seeds in the West. I mean, would that be shocking to anybody if it was T-Wolves, Nuggets, Mavericks, and Grizzlies at the top of the West?
No. And that's on the heels. We play the defending champs for the first time on December the 7th at Boston. They come to Memphis on March 31st. So we close out the month of March playing the Lakers at home, the defending champs at home, Golden State at home on April the 1st before we hit that road trip with Miami, Detroit, and Charlotte that you were talking about. So
birthday present? Birthday present?
Oh, that's it. Hey, we normally play around my birthday. Oh, of course, they're both on the road around my birthday on the 17th and the 19th. They're at Sacramento.
Uncle Buck's birthday, April the 1st, fittingly so. I expect to be at the Warriors game that day, and I expect to not have to pay for it.
Well, I'll talk to my people. They'll talk to your people. Hey, Kenny, if you're listening, man, we need to go cover that game. How about that?
Yeah. Get us
media pass. Yeah. As well, if I wasn't going to be Maggie and I already have a trip planned for my birthday, or I'd say we'd make a West Coast road trip to go see the Kings and the Blazers. But it's going to be
if there's 2 teams I want to see on the West Coast.
That's it. It's going to be a good schedule. Like, it sets up favorably at first glance. There's some hard stretches, but we've got some cool teams coming to the Forum. We're a great regular season team, and when healthy, this team is going to run roughshod through most of this schedule for sure.
And if you are a season ticket holder and you need to pick a month in which you need to really focus on your wife or your significant other, and because a lot of times as a married man with 4 kids, I know that like I can't ask for 82 games in this chair, so I've got to pick and choose. Tell your wife you'll give her all of February. In February, there's only 4 home games.
Yep.
Those 4 home games are Spurs, Thunder, Suns, and Knicks. It's not, I mean, those games you really want to go to.
Yeah.
But in other months, I mean, November, 8 games at home, 6 on the road. December, 5 and 7 on the road. January, 7 and 4 on the road. February, 4 and 7 away. March, 9 and 7. And then April, 3 and 4 on the road.
It would be good to give up February because March is where we get the Spurs, the Hawks, the Thunder at home, the Suns, the Jazz, the Cavs at home, the Heat, the Jazz, the Thunder at home, and then we finish out with the Lakers and the Celtics at home. That's the month that you need to. So give up February because March you're going to be downtown a lot.
Happy Valentine's Day, honey. You can have the whole February. I will not go to FedEx Forum.
That's it, because you can sell some of those tickets to make up money to buy your beverages and food in March.
No kidding though. Like those games, you can make a lot of your season ticket money back if both these teams by March, or if the teams coming to Memphis and Memphis is really good, like we expect them to be. That Knicks ticket you can sell for double face value.
Absolutely, easily.
Same with the Spurs and the Thunder, although they come to FedEx Forum twice.
Yeah. Lot of fun times ahead. It is officially basketball season on the 2 Buck Sports Show. We will talk about it heavily, but in the meantime, we do have the greatest season that we're going to work through first. Uncle Buck, we got a commercial to run through. Let's pay some bills, and then we're going to transition off this unless you got anything else you want to say.
No, really quickly, do you want to comment on the Ja 2s? I'm not a fan. I'm going to be honest with my people. Like, there are a few things that I loved about the Ja 1s. One, I think they were just a solid shoe. They're great looking shoe. The Ja 2s are as well. They're just not as good. And I really was hoping that the wraparound swoosh was going to be a staple of the Ja Morant shoe.
Yeah,
I agree. They got rid of it.
Yeah.
It was so unique to that shoe to my knowledge anyways.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I like the nightmares that dropped on Twitter on Wednesday, the red and black ones with the black teeth. Of all of them, those are the ones I like the most. I like the way the shoe is set up. I just don't, none of the colors that I've seen so far have been like, I've got to have those. Like when you and I these first dropped, when the wet cement came out, we were both like, got to have those. When the reverse scratch came out, got to have those. Like there's been some that have come out and it's like, I have to have them. None of the colors, I've like the colorways with the black, red, and blue. Don't love those.
It's
I don't
still
like
early.
Yeah, I don't like the Galaxy one. Like a lot of these are still probably like beta testing concepts. I just think they have a lot of work left to do before I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to go buy all the Ja 2s.
Yeah, and be careful of leaks too, because I do believe that those are put out for a myriad of reasons, and it doesn't mean that it's fact. And so, I just wasn't fan. I'm not a fan of like the plastic. A lot of plastic on the shoe. I like a lot of mesh. I like a lot of, I wasn't a huge fan. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm not going to stamp it as trash because different colorways change a shoe completely. There were some Ja ones that I wasn't a fan of colorways, and so I don't want to stamp it. But it's getting a lot of traction on Grizzlies media and podcasts and stuff. So I want to be honest with my opinion about it as well. And so that's my first opinion of it. And so I look forward to the colorways. If they have as many colorways with the 2s as they did the 1, I promise you I'll find one that I love.
Absolutely. And I will own a pair of Ja 2s. I know it's coming again.
I got to have one just to have one.
To have one. If it's the nightmares of the ones, if this is our colors, I'm getting the nightmares, the red and black. But I feel strongly they're going to come out with some different, better colors. As again, we've got what, 9 different styles of Ja 1s now? Maybe a dozen. Like you've got all these different ones. There's a good chance that there's going to be plenty more that drops in different, better colors. I like my chances of getting a good pair of them.
Right. And I like like you said, I like the makeup of the construction of the shoe. And so if they were high tops, I'd probably never have a pair just because I've got short legs and they make me look
Yeah. I'll say this too real quick. Yeah. One other last thing about the Grizzlies before we move on to college football, because we got a little bit lighter college football because there's three schools that aren't really necessarily in our area, but they are important on the national scheme. 2 out of 3 anyway. Talk odds a little bit as we're talking about our schedule. I know this is not a betting show, but it does help to know the Memphis Grizzlies are currently sitting at a plus 4,000 odds to win the NBA championship. Because that went up. I got it at 3,500. I might renege and take it back at 400. Ja Morant is currently sitting at plus 2,500 for MVP of the association. We're sitting at plus 3,300 to win the NBA Cup, which I scooped that up. Let's see if that line. Yeah, it's still at plus 3,300. So with our schedule, Drew, do you think that those are good odds? Do you think that you feel like we're going to overachieve? Remember, when we did our show with Luke a couple of weeks ago on the Daily Grind, our over-under is set at 47.5 or 41.5 wins.
What sports book are you looking at? Send me that link.
ESPN Bet.
So, yes, I prefer longer odds. If you're going to throw a dart, and I don't want to take a Boston at like plus 250. You're just not getting that much. A $20 bet will get you $50. I'm not really big on that. So I like the Grizzlies because I want to bet on teams that I like. I don't want to hedge or anything like that. That's not me.
Right.
So, I like the Grizzlies at that. If you think that the Grizzlies, that bet to win the NBA championship is a good bet, then you need to put money on Ja Morant. It's just, they go hand in hand a lot. If you think that the Grizzlies are going to be the 1 seed or a top 2 seed, I think that those Ja Morant odds are severely too low. You look last year, Jokic was the 2 seed. You look the year before that, Embiid, they were a top 3 seed. The only time I can think of an MVP that wasn't a top 2 seed off the top of my head was probably that Westbrook. Oklahoma City when he averaged a triple-double after KD left, and that team would have not even been in the playoffs without Russell Westbrook.
Right now, odds-on favorites for MVP are Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, both at plus 350, followed by Giannis, SGA, Embiid, Ant, Wemby at plus 1,300. Jalen Brunson and Jason Tatum are the players that are ahead, the 7 players ahead of Ja right now on MVP odds.
Yeah, I don't think Jokic is going to win again, and I don't think it's because of Jokic. I think it's just Jokic fatigue. It's the same reason why he didn't get it in 2 years ago, and they gave it to Embiid. But then in the playoffs, Jokic just reminded everybody that was a mistake, so he won it again this year. He's gotten 3. I think Luka is an obvious candidate. He should be the favorite, in my opinion. Jason Tatum should not be on the list.
SGA is an interesting one because if they don't have that sophomore slump and they're the best team in the association again, he could be considered, especially with them being the media darling last year.
Who is the highest odds American? Brunson?
Let's see. It would be Ant at plus 900. Yeah. Okay. Ant's plus 900. Brunson is plus 1,800. Then Tatum, Ja, Steph, KD, AD, they all are American after that.
Ant should not be above Ja. I don't think.
Again, I put $10 on Ja to win the MVP. I put 20 on us to win the league. Pretty good odds for it. Our win total is 47.5. Given the schedule, I feel like that's very attainable. The over is well within play here.
It's 48-34 for the over to hit.
I mean, I think that's well in play here.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I do think the Grizzlies are going to have a wildly successful season, and I do think that they're going to put themselves back on the map, and remind everybody that they should have been there. As also put a middle finger up because that's the Grizzlies' way for forgetting about us. That's the driving force here.
That's it.
So I also think that they are going to try to beat the Thunder by 73 again.
That's it, especially after watching last year, them copying our brand, bar for bar, as Soulja Boy once famously said, line for line, bar for bar. The same thing we did 2 years ago and get all the hype for it. And then we were called thugs and classless and all that. So there's we've got some chips on our shoulder. Ja and Dez already talk crazy and have a chip on their shoulder. I think it's massive. It's a boulder on their shoulder going into this season.
Yeah, so this is a very easy way to jumpstart us back into the NBA season. The NBA season is a 12-month season, if you haven't noticed.
It is.
Especially when you've got the Olympics in an Olympics year. And so we're already – I feel like the finals just ended. We're already getting the schedule out. We're
Training
2 months away. Yeah, we're soon. 2 months away from starting the season. It's time to get excited again. Just no way to do it. But there is one season that is happening in 2 weeks. Week 0 next weekend. And then Labor Day weekend, it's time.
It's time.
And so
after the break,
we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the 3 remaining non-Ole Miss and Mississippi State teams in the SEC we have not previewed. And we're going to talk just everything else, SEC football and NCAA football, since it starts back in 2 weeks. So stick with us through the break. On the other side, we got some treats for you.
I've seen some videos. I know they had it at AAC Media Day. Seth played Commissioner Pernetti. You didn't jump on the sticks there?
Yeah, I have not partaken in it. I've warned our players, hey, once it gets to midnight, shut the damn thing off and get some sleep.
I will tell you, it is difficult to shut that thing off. It's a great game. I don't know if you've seen your ratings or anything, kept up with it. They've got every uniform possible. We're the highest rated G5, so they think very highly. It's one of my favorite games, so I had to get a new system for it. I've created a dynasty, but defense is impossible. It is, Coach, I couldn't stop the FCS Pandas.
Well, I mean, we got to teach you some defensive skills.
I know, I do. I will not be applying for any defensive analyst roles, and I do not envy Jordan Hankins whatsoever.
So you won't be in the stands yelling, play defense anymore. You're like,
hey,
it's hard enough, I get it.
Yeah, I get it now.
There's going to be, right, everybody else tells me how to coach a game and how to play it. Now it's twofold. Right now, everybody's, you should have run the, what about the smash pattern on 3rd and 6, Coach? What do you think? I'm like, oh boy, now everybody's going to have answers, and I can't wait.
Yeah, you got to send over your college football 25 resume before you can give any sort of advice to Coach on what they need to be doing.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What does Team USA basketball look like for you in 2028?
At guards, you loaded.
got Ja Morant gonna be on their team. You got Anthony Edwards gonna be on the team. Jackson Tatum and Jaylen Brown revenge tour. If they decide.
Point guard from New York is gonna be there.
It's more so who you gonna have as the. I guess that's why a different Booker would have to be there. Anthony Edwards. You'll need someone who's previously played on the Olympic team to provide that veteran, because there's a different game. Not too different. It's still basketball at the end of the day, but it is a form of basketball that most of them players hadn't played in the actual Olympics yet. What USA needs to do, they need to get most of these players, and hopefully they can agree to it. That's probably what they're struggling now, is to play on the FIBA teams. Because the thing the other countries have the advantage on, the continuity, they all have the chemistry once you get to the Olympics, and USA always, it's a whole different team outside Anthony Edwards and
they do need to get them to say, look, y'all, let's run this twice. Like that,
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show. This is why you don't give us keys to fancy things, because we
need
will
a
hit
producer.
the wrong button. We do. I trust Uncle Buck to take us to commercial and takes us to the intro instead. Anyway, join Bluff City Media. BluffCityMedia.co is where you can find all the great shows you just saw, the one that you're watching that I wouldn't even call great, but you're watching it, and then all the other great content creators on here. BluffCityMedia.co. But back to business. College football season's upon us, Drew. We've got 3 non-teams that we support left. Now we're going to start in Texas. University of Texas has a lot of, that's it. Horns down always on this podcast, on this show. Horns down always. A lot of eyes are on Texas this year. They have returned Quinn Ewers, who is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Yep. Steve Sarkisian led them to a 12-2 record last year, including an appearance in the college football semis where they lost to Alabama. Pro Football Focus has them ranked second in their power ranking heading into next season. They gave them a 17, overall. Gave them a 17% chance to win the SEC, but their strength of schedule, according to Pro Football Focus, is fifth in all of college football. So a difficult slate, which we'll get into here in just a minute. Over-under win total is 10.5 wins next year. That's a high number. Expectations are high in Austin. Quinn Ewers, again, is back. He lost a lot of his weapons through graduation. Adonai Mitchell went to the NFL. But the transfer portal was kind to Texas. They were able to poach 2 Alabama receivers in Isaiah Bond and Amari Niblack, the tight end, are both now Longhorns. And their offense can put up points. They were 12th in yards per play last year at 6.7, 25th in successful play rate at almost 40% of their plays were successful. They returned most of a top 5 O-line unit last year, but their pass defense is where they're going to struggle. They ranked 59th last year in the league, or in team coverage grade. But when they faced teams that were good at passing, they were ranked 89th. So if you could throw the ball well, you could throw the ball well on Texas. They lost both of their best pass rushers. T'Vondre Sweat is now a Tennessee Titan. Their yards per play, they gave up 5.3, which is not great. Ties them for 40th in NCAA. And they allowed a 21st best 30% successful play. So defense is okay. Offense is where they can score. They're going to put up points. But Uncle Buck, they're coming to the SEC. They ain't in Kansas anymore. Their schedule opens up favorably, but they hit a gauntlet mid-season. So I've got it pulled up here for y'all. We can talk through Texas and expectations on that. It's a lot of words to start it off, but Uncle Buck, all eyes are on Texas, and rightfully so.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a big year for them. They are coming into the SEC, and they're coming into the SEC with an incredible football team. I mean, let's just be honest. Quinn Ewers is a no doubt Heisman candidate. He's no doubt one of the best quarterbacks in football. They have lost 2 running backs to leg injuries for the season. One ACL, one Achilles. The backup had an Achilles within like a 3-day span. Just a really rough week in Texas training camp for them. And so it's exciting. it adds a lot of juice to the SEC when you get teams that come in like that. And I remember, and you remember in 2011 when A&M and Missouri were added to the SEC, that did not have the juice that Texas and Oklahoma. It's like you got the step kids, and then now you're bringing in like the big boys. And so it's really exciting to see them. Ole Miss nor Mississippi State play. No, you do play Texas.
We do. We play at Texas. We're their first
Miss,
SEC game of the season. Is Mississippi State comes to Austin on September 28th, and it's going to be hot as blue blazes out there.
Yeah,
for that
and
game.
So it's packed quite a punch this year. You talked about kind of what they have, what they lost. 0-3, their transfer portal rankings have them 5th overall. They gained 7 4-stars from the portal, lost none, and they gained 2 3-stars and lost 24. So I mean, you lost a bunch of players that weren't going to play. That's what happens when you're an elite program. You lose a lot of 3-stars, you get a lot of 4-stars, and so I don't see any reason why Texas will not compete in the SEC. I know, just like we have American excellence, we cheer for American excellence in the Olympics. There is a standard set by SEC schools and by their fans that expect them to be better than all the other conferences, and most of the time they're correct. Texas is not going to come into the SEC and be a chump.
No, they're not.
Texas,
yes, it's going to be very similar. When the two teams came previously, Missouri came in and competed almost immediately and was in the SEC title game within a year or two. I see that as Texas. A&M took some time to build up, getting the right recruits in. They got Manziel, and they were in that scene. So I think that it's going to be the same here with Texas being competitive immediately, especially with some of their schedule. Oklahoma's going to take a little time. Now, again, Texas did lose some. They lost Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, both to the NFL on defense. Can they stop some of these other potent offenses? Because that's what we do well in the SEC is, yes, you can come in and score a bunch of points, but we've got defenses that can compete with that. Again, this ain't Kansas anymore. You ain't playing Baylor and these schools that are very porous on defense. Can that offense hold up when you run through? You've got Oklahoma there, but you also play Georgia. You play Kentucky. You got A&M. Their SEC schedule is not brutal.
I'm going to tell you, Kansas was pretty good last year. So you did drop them off, but you are still getting some cupcakes. You're getting Vanderbilt. You're getting Florida at home. You're going to Fayetteville. Although now that Arkansas game is going to be charged for some old Big Ten rivalry kind of thing. But like that, you said their over-under is 10.5. Let's just look at that. So you can see, everybody can see their schedule on the left-hand side of our screen here. Rusty did an amazing job getting these graphics up. Hats off, brother. Start off Colorado State. That's a win. And then at Michigan. That is fun.
That's a great
Michigan
game.
I have a feeling that Michigan is just going to implode. Yes. There's been nothing but controversy around that team. The NCAA is still trying to go after Jim Harbaugh. Sharon Moore is nothing but a placeholder until they can get through the other end of this. I refuse to believe anything other than that.
Which Harbaugh did get a 4-year show cause to come back to the NCAA.
And what did Michigan do to respond to that? They're making him an honorary captain in opening.
That's it. Yeah, I love that. Love the pettiness here. But I think Texas goes to the big house and just absolutely kicks the crap out of Michigan. They lost a ton. Shout out JJ McCarthy. He's done for the year for the Vikings. For those of you who've already drafted him in your fantasy football teams, I do apologize. But that's not the same Michigan team as last year. And I think Texas goes up there and just beats the brakes off of them.
So then they go back to Texas and play a really good AAC team, UTSA, the Roadrunners. That's a win. I mean, it is. They play
it is what it is.
The Raging, not the Raging Cajuns. What's ULM?
The Skyhawks.
That's UT Martin.
Keep going, but I'm pretty sure they're the same.
Maybe you may be right. And then we're just going through their
Warhawks.
easy schedule.
So sorry, Warhawks. Yeah, close enough.
So they continue with their easy schedule with playing Mississippi State and Austin.
Yeah, it's their first SEC game. We'll see. It's the first SEC game for Jeff Levy, who knows Texas really well. All I'm saying is there's going to be one team that Mississippi State's upsets this year. It ain't Texas.
And so then they've got the bye before they go to the Texas State Fair to play Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry in Dallas.
Can't wait for that.
Another non-home game for Texas, although Oklahoma does travel really well for that game. And then honestly what may be the game of the year. And there's no real way to undersell this game. Georgia goes to Austin, Texas to play the Longhorns in their first year in the SEC with SEC championship, playoff implications, everything right there on October the 19th.
You could have 2 Heisman candidates, depending on how Carson Beck's season goes in Athens, playing in that game for sure.
Right. There's no doubt about that. And that's a huge game. It's a game that I will be sitting.
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
Short arms. Then they get to reset themselves with a quote unquote bye week in Nashville against SEC powerhouse Vanderbilt.
That's it.
Then they go to Gainesville, comes to Austin. It should be a win. At Arkansas is funny, but it's a win.
It's a win.
Listen, Arkansas is as big game hunter as any college football team is.
Yes.
They've beaten LSU for the Battle of the Boot many times when they had no business to. It's like they
Same with Alabama.
They are the perfect team for circling one game on the schedule. Like, if we win one game, this is it. They've done it to Ole Miss. Like, the most gettable big game, that's the game we're going for. And that Texas game is going to be circled.
Absolutely.
I don't think it matters.
Nope.
Talent wins football games.
Yep.
And then they go back home for Kentucky and then at A&M, which I hope and pray that it is just an absolute earthquake in Texas for that game, because the big brother, little brother spat that they've been having ever since 2011, where Texas A&M demands to be addressed by Texas and demands to be played, and Texas just like, get off my ankles. Little kid. But now they're back. Going to take all of that out against each other on November 30th.
Great game.
In
College Station at Kyle Field.
Kyle Field, yeah.
It's going to be quite the scene. Drew, going through that, like 10.5 like 11 seems very doable. The Georgia game is the only one that I can see them losing. I think finishing the regular season 11-1 and heading to the SEC championship game could be a very real possibility for this team with national championship hopes. If I'm betting on them, I'm taking the over on the 10.5.
Yeah, so like I said last week on this show, I look at games that I think that they will absolutely win, and look at games I think they will absolutely lose, and then look at the toss-up games. I don't think there's any games that they will absolutely lose. I do think there's one toss-up game, will be in Georgia.
And there's 2 rivalry games.
And then you look at the weird games. I think they should be favored in both. I think they should win both. But what could go either way on upset is Oklahoma and at Texas A&M. And so I'm with you. I think 10.5, the over is probably the play. But when you only got you've got to go 11-1 to hit the over, it's hard.
That's hard. I mean, that's hard. But this team feels like they can do it again as long as they stay healthy. They've been bit by the injury bug so far with their 2 running backs, but season's early. You never know what's going to shake out. I'm taking Texas on the over.
Yeah. So you said that Pro Football Focus had them as the 5th toughest schedule. ESPN, On 3 has them as the 10th toughest schedule.
Yeah.
And so take that with what you will. I can't find 2 games that they will definitely lose.
Me neither. We're moving on. We're staying in the same state, but speaking of little brother to Texas, Texas A&M is next up in our preview, and A&M has a little bit tougher road to begin with. Pro Football Focus has them as the 21st team in their power ranking with a 20th ranked strength of schedule. Their win total is 7.5. They have a 5% chance to win the SEC. Man, I couldn't think of a better dumpster fire than what Texas A&M has been over the last couple of years. They wanted to fire Jimbo 2 years ago. They couldn't because his buyout was too much. They put up for one more year when he went 11-11 over his last 2 seasons while making over $90 million to buy him out at the largest buyout in the history of organized sports,
right,
at $77.5 million. So for those of you who don't understand, he is getting paid $77 million to sit at the house and do nothing, play golf, float on his boat, whatever. They're literally paying him that much to not coach football. I would never coach again. I miss my calling by not being a fired college football coach.
It's the best job in sports is a fired SEC football coach.
Absolutely.
Or
So
any football coach.
They hired his former defensive coordinator, Mike Elko from Duke, bringing in some history there with A&M, but can he turn it around? It's a swing, right? Jimbo was a very offensive-minded coach, and they couldn't stop anybody. Well, Elko is a very defensive-minded coach, and he's bringing in the 17th ranked recruiting class nationally. He was very successful in his 2 years at Duke, but this ain't the ACC anymore. There's still some really good talent in College Station. Connor Wegman is the leading quarterback prospect for the 2025 draft, according to PFF.
Are you serious?
They did.
Good.
Yeah, Wegman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He finished the season strong last year, but I didn't think it was like a Jackson Dart kind of level, but maybe size and, there's Cam Rising. There's other guys.
Team went 7-5.
I mean, that's it. But they did lose Walter Nolan at Ole Miss. He was the hottest prospect in the transfer portal, went to Ole Miss. But Elko did add some monster help on defense. Edge Nick Scrouton from Purdue is ranked at 82.8. He was the third highest ranked edge prospect in the transfer portal. Got a linebacker from Pitt who was at 72, and then a cornerback from K-State that was 76 overall, Will Lee the third. Problem is their offensive line is atrocious. Get this. So they returned all 5 starters in their offensive line, but their center guard, none of them ranked above 60, graded out above 65.
And they could not block last
That's
year.
Awful. Defense will be strong on all levels again, but can they score, right? What does their offense look like? Is Wegman what he's hyped up to be? They don't have some of the talent they've had in previous years at receiver. They don't have A-Chain running at running back anymore. The schedule is moderately favorable. Again, PFF has them as the 20th toughest schedule in college football, and it starts with a bang. They get Notre Dame at home on opening weekend, which I'm excited to see. I think that's like instead of the Catholic versus the convicts, you got the Catholics versus the cult on October 31st.
Yeah. So what you're scared of, as a fan of the SEC, and scared is the wrong word, but I felt like that Texas A&M's biggest problem was Jimbo Fisher. It was a very poorly run program. He could not utilize on the talent that got there. And so what makes you immediately nervous is, okay, what if they get a coach that knows what he's doing?
Yeah.
And outside of that 1 year at Florida State, I think it could be said without much rebuking that Jimbo Fisher is just an average coach. You know,
he's a Jameis Winston away from being an average coach.
Right. Look at Gene Chizik, like Cam Newton away, and so, so what makes me nervous about them is that maybe Mike Elko is just really good at knowing his role, organizing a team, putting position coaches and coordinators that know what they're doing. And the problem last year was you had a head coach and an offensive coordinator that were just old offensive coaches with a lot of baggage.
Yeah, maybe. The talent is there. This is a good football team. They showed glimpses of it last year under Jimbo. They'd come out one game and look like world beaters, especially on defense, but Walter Nolan is gone. They still return a lot of talent. But what about offense? Like Elko is a known defensive guy, right? And we've seen this happen. Chizik was a defensive guy, and outside of Cam Newton, they couldn't move the football on anybody. And so what does that look like on the offensive side? I don't know that we'll truly find out until October, because the beginning of their schedule is pretty soft. It's kind of a cakewalk. Outside, like Notre Dame, we don't really know. Like Notre Dame is always they're Tennessee in preseason football. Everybody hypes them up. They're going to be great because most of the journalists that covered college football graduated from Notre Dame. So we don't really know what we have in Notre Dame. But I feel like that's a winnable game for A&M, especially with it being in College Station at Kyle Field. It's going to be all kinds of hot at that game. And I don't know that Notre Dame knows what they're walking into there.
So Bobby Petrino was the offensive coordinator last year for Texas A&M. Trivia question. Who is the offensive coordinator for Texas A&M this year?
Is it Bobby Petrino? Did he stay?
No, he's at Arkansas. Went back home.
Oh, that's right. He went back to Arkansas. That's right. I forgot. They had the Heisman motorcycles and co-eds.
He was a Heisman finalist the year after I got out of high school, graduated high school. So it's a name that you know. He played football in the Big 12. Stop me when you know it.
Oh, what's his name? He was at Texas Tech. He was a quarterback. It wasn't one of the quarterbacks under Mike Leach.
Nope. No, that was way before 2012.
I guess
You're thinking like Graham Harrell.
I forget how young you are. Yeah.
So, runner-up that year, Mantateo. The winner was Texas A&M's Johnny Manziel. Third place, quarterback.
Oklahoma.
From the Kansas State Wildcats, Colin Klein.
What? Colin?
Offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Yeah. I had not heard that guy's name since 2012. And I just Googled who is Texas A&M's offensive coordinator.
Wow. So, I mean, guy's a winner. We'll see, man. But who knows? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. So let's get to the schedule. So A&M's over under is what, Rusty?
7.5.
7.5. All right. So we're looking for 8 wins here. So, preseason ranked number 7, I believe. Notre Dame going to Kyle Field to start the season. That's probably a loss, but
you don't know. But you don't know. That's
Notre
what I was
Dame's
just
always
saying.
Overrated to start the season.
What I literally just said about 2 minutes ago. Always overrated because they've got a bunch of journalists that come in and they all graduate from Notre Dame and they cover college football and they overhype them to Tennessee.
So
we don't know. So that's a toss-up game. But if you want to call it a loss, let's call it a loss.
We'll call it a toss-up and we'll come back to it in a minute. McNeese at home. That's a win. At Florida. That's another toss-up. All right. I think it's probably a win, though. Let's call it a win. Let's be nice.
All right.
Bowling Green.
Win.
Not in Kentucky, by the way.
No.
It is in Ohio. That's a win at home. Then they go for a home game in a neutral site at Jerry World. For the Jerry Bowl, Arkansas Razorbacks and Texas A&M Aggies on September the 28th. Should be a win.
It should be a win.
Yeah.
That could be the weird game for Arkansas, but I think that's a win.
Yeah. So, Missouri, I'm calling that a loss.
That's a loss.
It's at home. At Mississippi State, I think it should be a win.
But we have their number, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you're just looking at stats, so like projections, it should be. That's all.
But if you look back, we're like in the last 6 trips. Like we were like Mike Leach was 2-0 against Jimbo Fisher. Like in the last 6 trips, we're 4-2 or 5-1 when Arkansas or when the A&M comes to Starkville. But point remains.
Yeah. So then you've got LSU at home. That's a loss.
It's a loss.
At Davis Bryce Stadium, South Carolina.
Williams Bryce Stadium in South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm thinking Davis Wade. Yeah. So Williams Bryce Stadium, South Carolina. That should be a win. It's very, very possible that both teams at that point are a dumpster fire.
Yes.
You've got New Mexico State coming to town. That's a win. You go to Auburn, and then you end with Texas at home. So if you go through this, if I'm going through this, I'm looking at absolute wins, 100%. I've got McNeese. I've got Florida. I've got Bowling Green. I've got Mississippi State, South Carolina, New Mexico State.
And then that's it.
I
say those.
I can't say 100% on Auburn. I can't say 100%.
No, that's a toss-up.
I'm saying 6. I'm saying 6. You've got to get 2 out of Notre Dame, Missouri, LSU, Auburn, and Texas.
And Auburn, yeah.
I
think you lose. I think LSU and Texas and Missouri are 3 losses. I don't think they beat any of those teams. So that gives you Notre Dame and Auburn as your toss-ups that you have to beat.
Right. And so I think it's hard. Although I've made this caveat when we started talking about them. I'm very prepared to blame all of this on Jimbo Fisher if they're good this year.
I mean, there's a path to 9 wins here. There's a real path to 9.
Their schedule is not daunting.
It's not bad.
If you look at their big games at home versus away, Notre Dame at home, Missouri at home, LSU at home, Texas at home. I mean, those are probably your hardest games.
Yeah. And who knows if Notre Dame is not the 7th ranked team in the country, which is a reality with Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, we don't know what his team's going to be. Right. You could go into that Missouri game 5-0, and your first loss could not be until October the 5th.
A little bit of a coming home kind of thing, a resurrection of a friendship in that first game. Notre Dame's quarterback, former Duke quarterback, Riley Leonard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did transfer over there. Yeah, so he's familiar with Riley Leonard, but I feel like if you win that game, you're 5-0 facing Missouri, and you could realistically only have 1 loss playing LSU on October 26th. I mean, like this could very easily be like, oh my gosh, Jimbo really was that bad. You're absolutely right.
Momentum can be a very dangerous thing. Although we've seen it Texas A&M before. Once it goes wrong, it never course corrects.
It's hard. It's hard in the SEC. Like you can
it's hard
early.
with that fan base.
Yeah.
They are so all or nothing, and they're so quick to hate. Like they're so quickly to blame their own. It's that they've got a Napoleon complex down there in College Station, whereas they're so quick to eat their own. And so go to show I have a hard time getting them to 8. But I'm totally willing to say, come mid-October, that is probably a Jimbo Fisher problem. I'm going to have my cake and eat it too.
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a better football team than people think. I think the problem has been Jimbo Fisher, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And
Although again, I'm not okay with Texas A&M being good.
Being good is what I was just about to say. I'm not okay with that. I'm okay with it being Jimbo's fault, but I'm not okay with that. I still like 7.5 feet to the fire right now. I'm probably going to take the over. I think 8 wins is very realistic for this team. I would probably take the over depending on what the odds are, but I would probably take the over.
Yeah. I can get them to 7 easily. I just the rest of them are toss-ups. Yeah, I'm not putting it. The best way to put it is I'm not putting money on this.
That's it. I would avoid it. This is what you call a push, and you leave it alone.
So we got one more team to talk about, and I know everybody in Tennessee has been waiting on this. This is the big one. This is the granddaddy of them all, the premier university in the state of Tennessee.
You're gonna get us kicked off this network already.
So sorry, not including Memphis.
No, you got Vanderbilt. So Clark Lee's 4th season does not look promising. 2 years ago, they finished 5-7, felt like they had like momentum. And I use that term very lightly with Vanderbilt, but felt like they had some momentum at 5-7, only to go 2-10 last year and be awful. They have not made a bowl game in 5 years. They're 94th in the Pro Football Focus power rankings with the 11th strength of schedule, the 11th strongest schedule. Their win total is 2.5, and you'll see why when we get into the schedule here in a minute. The SEC tossed a lot of bones here to some of their powerhouses that are supposed to be good next year. Their only bright spot is they got a transfer quarterback from New Mexico State, Diego Pavia. Pavia, thank you.
Yeah.
Pro Football Focus ranks him, graded him at 83.3. So he's a good quarterback. He's very elusive. He was the 4th leading rusher among FBS quarterbacks last year with 1,058 yards in New Mexico State. So he's very dynamic, runs the ball well. But what is Vanderbilt's weakness? Everything else. Yeah. They finished 6th as the 6th worst offense out of 128 teams, the 6th worst offense in college football last year, and the 2nd worst defense in college football last year. Their defense.
Good. Please go ahead.
Listen to this and I'll shut up. The defense allowed 0.147 earned points per play, ranking 129th out of 129 teams. They gave up 6.5 yards per play last year, ranking 126 out of 129. They gave up successful plays at 40%. That's 128. There was only one team worse on defense than Vanderbilt last year. They gave up explosive run plays 16% of the time, which is tied for 87th. Explosive pass rate plays at 15%, tied for 81st. That's bad.
It's a shame, and I feel bad for Vanderbilt fans, both of them, because like there's no investment in this.
No.
The best thing the most damning thing I saw or heard was that Vanderbilt went 2-10 last year, and they lost all their good players in the portal.
That's it.
I mean, how many? Both of them?
They're literally, and they're renovating the stadium, so they're literally going to have a guy out there with one of those giant sticky note easels, and he's going to write the score up and tear it off. Like it's going to be like so bad.
Park, and they're just going to shove those numbers in the slots.
It's so bad, man. And like every time this year, though, around this time of the year, that famous video of that offensive lineman from like back when they had like Eddie Lacy at Alabama. This has been like 08, 09, somewhere right in there. and they'd won like 2 or 3 games in a row. And he said, in a very high pitched voice for a large man, he said, "We let them know about Vanderbilt football. Alabama, you're next." And then the next scene is Alabama closes out the day 55-0 over Vanderbilt.
Yeah. It's like he went with the Karl Anthony Towns voice. We in Minnesota now.
That's it. Very zesty, if you will.
Yeah. So it sucks. That whole the meme to describe Vanderbilt in the Clarkley era is, I don't know if you remember the Jordan Matthews when they played Ole Miss. He got hit in the stomach. He started throwing up on the field.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going to be. Like,
I mean, that's it.
We're
not going to.
The schedule's not great, but no SEC schedule is.
Yeah,
Virginia
we're not going to belabor the schedule because, like, what you could
bad.
look at, we'll go through
over
it.
Under.
2.5. It's 2.5, Drew. So let's, instead of looking at games where they're going to lose, like we were looking for 2 losses for Texas, we're trying to find 2 wins for Vanderbilt.
All right, I got 2.
I mean, I know
I'm gonna
2.
say they're going to hit the over.
They're going to hit 3. I see 3 that they can win.
Yeah, and that's the only chances they've got. Virginia Tech's going to be pretty good. And I tell you what, they're going to hit the over because you know why they're going to hit the over? They are going to win on the road on November the 2nd. You know why? Because Diego Pavia Diego Pavia transferred from New Mexico.
That's it. Who beat Auburn
2-0 against Hugh Freeze. They beat him at Liberty and they beat him at Auburn last year.
Yep. So that sounds like a revenge game where it's just going to, I mean, it's like, and that's the game, like Vanderbilt's going to find a way to win because Auburn's kooky and you never know what they're going to do. And so that would be poetic justice, but Virginia Tech's going to be good. I mean, I think you can beat Alcorn State, Georgia State. You're going to lose every SEC game. You've got to win your non-conference, and then Auburn is
except for Auburn.
Except for Auburn. We're calling it now. Vandy gets 4 wins, baby.
I'm
4 wins.
Like Diego Pavia, who was a group of 5s. He was good at New Mexico, New Mexico State. I don't know the difference. I might as well join them.
Yeah, who knows?
Forgive me. But like to think like you're a good quarterback and it's just like, okay, now where can I go play? Transfer out of here to go up, and you end up at Vanderbilt, who plays in a bigger conference but cares less than New Mexico. Like, I mean, it's just a bad scene there for him. There's no hope for them. There will never be any hope now that they're paying players because Vanderbilt is not going to invest. And you might as well relegate them to the Sun Belt, bring up Memphis into the SEC. Like, just tit for tat right there.
That's it. Like, we'll make a straight swap with a player to be named later and some cash considerations for the AAC. We take Memphis. Y'all have Vanderbilt. Have a good one.
Yeah. We'll trim the fat. And you guys will have, even at the AAC level, you will have somebody to beat up on in Vanderbilt.
And it makes sense. Like, it helps lock in the geographic footprint here in the Mid-South, put Memphis in the SEC. It makes us better in basketball. They're really good in football right now. This year, like, Memphis is going to be very good, which we'll touch on them next week as well with our State and Ole Miss show. They're going to be very good. We'll give you an outsider's opinion. There's plenty of better people to talk about Memphis on this network than us, but we're going to give you an outsider looking into Memphis from the inside.
As you saw from our commercial, there is a show on our network, Bluff City Media, who had a sit-down interview with the head coach of Memphis.
It wasn't us.
We're going to tell you what we think.
That's it. That's it. So that's our SEC preview outside of the 2 teams that matter the most. And those will come up next week as we finish out our preview with your Ole Miss Rebels and my Mississippi State Bulldogs. This show
future
last
national
year,
champions.
You talking about State already? Yeah, Levy's going to have a good year. So last year,
the rapture happening.
Prepare thyselves. Last year, this was a 2.5-hour episode. We're going to try and keep it a lot shorter than that. No. But we can get feisty about State and Ole Miss. If you don't watch any episodes, watch that one.
Last year, the only people we had to answer to was ourselves and our significant others. That's it. We can't go. We're not going 2.5 hours next week.
No, we're not. We've got corporate bigwig watching over us. Kenny's gonna be watching this. Be like, boys, we can't do this. Hey, buddy.
So that has been a fun episode, Rusty. Enjoyed it. Enjoyed another week on this $2 Sports Show with you guys. Come back next week. Next week we'll have some fireworks.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Thanks for tuning in with us this week. If you're still here to hour 10, make sure you go to bluffcitymedia.co. You sign up to hang out with us in the Discord. We're gonna be using the Discord a lot this fall with college football, polls, interaction. Join the Discord. It's $5 a month. Our offer still stands. If you join and show us proof, we'll Venmo you $5 to cover your entry fee for your first month. It's going to be awesome. A lot of great guys in there, a lot of great content creators that are way smarter, way more creative than we are. It's a fun place to hang out. But we are fun. We are fun. And we're cheap. And we're cheap too. You know, we don't cost a whole lot of money here on the $2 Sports Show. Yeah. Why is that, Uncle Buck?
Because with the $2, you always get what you pay for. Hope everybody has a fun, safe week. We'll see you here next Friday.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.